the gift you have given me tonight, that I can be myself. Like, you enjoy my jokes, but you also enjoy me, which is just, I don't know if you know what goes on. I don't know if you know what goes on before the show, but I say a little prayer of gratitude, and then I remind myself of something my therapist always tells me, which is, the audience, Gary, they're not your family. These people are rooting for you. So this was why I stopped doing magic. I couldn't handle the heckling. I still loved magic all my years, and I remember the last time I went to a magic show, I was so moved. I went to this show at the Magic Castle in Hollywood, and the young man did this trick, and it sounds basic, but it was very complicated, and I knew how much effort must have gone into perfecting it. So he does this thing, he says, pick a card, any card. I picked the Queen of Diamonds, and then he handed me the Queen of Diamonds and a Sharpie and asked me to sign the back of the card. And so I did that. Then he took the card with my signature and the Sharpie, put it into the deck, and did a series of elaborate shuffles, culminating in the cascading bridge. My sound effects are so poor. Cascading bridge, which I can't do, and makes me less of a man. Sometimes people will ask me, they'll say, Garrett, do you want to play poker with us? And I'll say, oh, I don't gamble. But the truth is, I don't shuffle. But this guy, his cascading bridge, it was just perfection. So he takes the deck, and then he put it into this pocket in his blazer. From this pocket, he removed an orange. And I screamed, how? I just saw you put the deck into this pocket. I watched every moment of it from here to here. Now you're implying it's in the middle of that orange? When I told my mom this story, she said, yeah, honey, how'd you know the card was in the orange? And I said, oh, that's because I've seen magic before, you dingbat. He didn't pull out the orange because he was concerned I had scurvy. Bollocks to Gulman, who so blithely mentioned scurvy. A vitamin C deficiency that ravaged the British Royal Navy in the 17th and 18th centuries. First he went after Seinfeld, and I said nothing, because I weren't Seinfeld. Then he went after dentists, and I said nothing, because I don't care for them blokes neither. Then he came for me. Also, I thought it was a low blow and petty and spiteful that he mocked those of us who still send our emails using a manual typewriter. And while I don't want to stoop to his level and pick nits, but his mime work is rubbish. He would have his audience of librarians and middle-aged Jewish women believe that we return the carriage after every bloody letter. And that we only type words that can be typed entirely with the left hand, such as West and Stewart and Abracadabra. So he hands me the orange. And he says, inspect it, make sure it hasn't been doctored or manipulated in any way. I said, what can I prove? Without an MRI, I get nothing. All I can say is bravo. This is the greatest trick I've seen from this distance in my life. You are incredible. And so I handed him back the orange. He peeled it. Sure enough, in the center, Queen of Diamonds, my signature, some pulp. A self-referential? And then he said, and this to me was the most impressive part of the trick, he said, is this your card? That blew me away, right? The humility. I don't possess that. It's insecurity. I gloat, I boast. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but when you don't believe in yourself, you're so shocked when you come through. You're like, yeah, in your face! Like, I've been obnoxious about that. Like, when I was in high school, playing basketball, if I made a shot over you, and I would have, and your coach called timeout to staunch the bleeding, I wouldn't go over to my huddle. I would go over to your huddle, stick my beak in, and say, I'd bring in someone who can guard me. And sometimes the referee would come over and say, son, you pull that again, I'm going to tee you up. And I would say, pull what? Offer sage defensive counsel? Sometimes I go to the free throw line, I'd make the first one, and then I'd turn to whoever fouled me and say, regrets? We could all be playing basketball right now if you'd shown a little self-control. I'm gonna make this next one, even though your fans and cheerleaders are screaming, miss. Let me tell you something, kids. While you were all at prom and semi-formal and the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, I was keeping my elbow in and following through. I'm not gonna miss. You know what I consider a miss? If it hits any part of the rim before falling through the net. That's my miss. It has to be aesthetically pleasing, as well as go through the points. If it goes g-g-g-g-g, I'll cover my ears and scream too loud. Now that's high school basketball. The stakes are very low. If I pulled your card out of citrus fruit in front of an audience, I'm not, I'd whip it out with a flourish. Look familiar? Fuckface? How did I do it? I'm magic! Now you're wondering, where does the empathy come in? He said, is this your card? And I felt it. I wanted to say, not only is that my card, this is the greatest trick I've ever seen in my life. You are a perfect athlete, a deft magician. I am in awe of you, sir. I am blown away. But because of the empathy, my jubilance was suppressed, and all I could muster was, I cannot fathom how lonely your childhood was. The isolation must have been excruciating. You said, "Is this your card?" I heard, "Mommy, look."